Welcome back to another video on the channel, everyone. Rebirth Island has just dropped today, and today I got you guys with a graphics settings video for console players. Rebirth Island looks a bit different than it did back in Warzone 1. They didn't change much, but the way the lighting actually looks is quite different, and I think it's actually better. So with that being said, if you guys do enjoy today's video and learn something new, make sure you guys drop a like and subscribe to the channel. The tips we're covering in today's video are going to be our settings and how you guys can have better graphics as well as better FPS to optimize your consoles the best you can. So with that being said, let's hop straight into my settings. Alright guys, here I am on my PlayStation. The first thing we're going to talk about in today's video in the graphics section is on-demand texture streaming. I've mentioned this many times in the past. You guys want to have this off. This is going to make the game look like a blob. It's going to make it like Roblox. None of the textures are going to load in properly, so yeah, leave this off. I've actually already tested this on Rebirth Island with the new drop today, and it still does not work. So yeah, I would avoid that as much as you can. World motion blur and weapon motion blur I have both set to off. I will be covering a video on this in the future explaining how world motion blur actually might make you get more FPS, but for now you just leave it off because it will make you kind of get some motion sickness. Film grain I have set to 0. I recommend you guys leave this as 0. If you guys haven't already moved it to 0, make sure you guys move it down because it's going to make this visual noise and grain that looks kind of weird. And if you guys don't like that, it's going to look a lot smoother and clearer if you turn it all the way down. Depth of field, I recommend you guys leave that on, but that's just personal preference. I like it on, but if you guys don't like it, you guys can turn it off. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to change FPS. It's not going to change your graphics, so it's not that big of a deal. Here we are with one of the most important settings in today's video, which is FidelityFX CAS. This is responsible for the sharpness of your game. So if you guys feel like your game looks really blurry and soft and mushy, this will make the game look much better. I recommend you guys go ahead and turn this on, and you guys should set it to about 30 to 50 if you're on old gen, and you guys can put it on any number if you're on new gen. New gen has no issues playing around with fidelity, but old gen does start to struggle if you try to push it anything past like 55 or 60, I've noticed. So I leave mine at 50. Right now I am on a PS4. This is being recorded on PS4, so I'm leaving mine at 50 for now. Sustainability, I have my eco mode preset set to low consumption. This is just going to help it whenever you're in the menus. It's not going to really stress your PlayStation or console as much when you're just, scrolling around. FOV, this is a pretty big one. I recommend you guys play on somewhere between 105 to 110 if you're on old gen, and you guys can play on 120 if you guys want to on new gen. That's not really an issue. New gen has absolutely no issues with FOV right now. In fact, new gen is handling Rebirth pretty well. Old gen is doing kind of okay. I'm gonna show you guys some gameplay on some old gen footage as well as some new gen footage so you guys can compare how well they are playing together. Now real quick for you guys, if you guys don't experience any frame drops like stutters and hitches on your old gen consoles, if you guys have like a PS4 Pro or something, or even a Series S Xbox, you guys can try out 120, but I really think that it's going to lag quite a bit. I've tested it many times on both Xbox and PS4, and whenever I run anything over like 105 or 110, it starts to stutter a lot. The rest of these settings are personal preference right here, except the inverted flashbang. I think most people would like it to be black instead of white. That way if you're playing at nighttime, you're not going to just go completely blind whenever someone throws a flashbang at you. So yeah, I recommend you guys turn that on. Now right here, brightness. This is really important. I see a lot of people, the first thing they do when they go into the graphic settings is they crank their brightness all the way up, and then they're wondering why their game looks incredibly washed. Let me show you guys real quick what this does to your game. For those of you that want to bump your brightness up, watch this. Just watch. That's what it does to your game. If you want brightness to be cranked up, that's what it's going to do. That's why your game looks like trash. Do not, I repeat, do not bump up brightness. It's not going to help you see players clear. I'll show you how to properly actually increase your visibility. This is not how you do it. You actually want to pay attention to what it's actually telling you. You want to see the middle, the 2 right there. It wants to be barely visible. You don't want it to be, too bright like that one. I should barely be able to see that Call of Duty, which is about 50, 47-ish for me, so somewhere around here. Look how it instantly looks 10 times better. Like I said, I can't stress this enough. You guys are playing on a higher brightness, make sure you guys turn it down. I'll show you guys some better tips later on today's video to make your game look much more visible, to see enemies in dark corners. As for safe area, this is personal preference. You guys can play around with this as you like. This only really controls the HUD. Now moving over to interface, if you guys go right below graphics, you guys will see interface right here. There's some pretty interesting parts in here that some of you guys were actually commenting down below about, and I'm going to go ahead and address them all, starting off with color customization. You can actually change the way the game looks for specific parts of the game's HUD as well as the world. So you guys can see right here, you can see all of the different colors for different symbols and icons in the game. So pings, players, control zones, all that sort of thing. If you guys didn't know about this, you guys can play around with that. I'm gonna leave that there for now, but if you guys do want to, I recommend you guys go ahead and go to enemy and turn this to a darker, more richer red. That way it's a little more visible. You guys could also turn you to whatever color you want, literally. I mean, if you want to be green, you can, doesn't really matter. If you guys are colorblind, if you guys are better with certain colors, you guys can play around with this. But yeah, many people don't actually know about this setting. If you guys have a certain color blindness, there's some presets right here you guys can play around with. But if you scroll all the way down below these ones, you guys will see we have some color filter settings, which is pretty cool. They have given us 3 different color filters we can use right now. And I recommend you guys use color filter 2 if you guys want more color. This one's actually the best, and you guys can specifically choose this to be for world. So I recommend you guys leave this on world unless you're actually colorblind. But even if you're colorblind, you have more customization with up here than you do with just some filters. So I recommend you guys do all your colorblind stuff up here and then leave your saturation and more graphic stuff down here with the color filters. If you leave it on interface, it's only going to change, you know, your HUD and icons like I said before. And if you put it on both, it's going to do both. Obviously, it's going to do both your HUD and the game. So for me, I'm not colorblind. I'm not going to put it on my interface, so I only want it on world. And right here, you can actually change the color intensity by making the game more saturated or more affected by the filters. I'll leave mine at 75, but if you guys want more saturation, you guys can bump it up more if you guys want to. It's personal preference right here. And of course, interface color intensity is also set to 100. This doesn't really matter. Like I said, I don't use the filters for my interface, so that's personal preference right there. Now, moving down to the HUD settings and interface, we have the minimap shape. I highly recommend you guys use square. The reason why I want to use square is because you're going to get more range with the UAVs. If you guys see the circle on the left compared to the square on the right, we get those extra corners, which also accounts for UAV pings. So if you guys are using a round square or round map, you are going to be basically limited on your range of UAVs and enemy intel. So make sure you guys have it on square. Also, make sure minimap rotation is on, or else you're going to be very confused. Now, I've got quite a bit of comments in the last video regarding crosshairs and how do I have a center dot. This is actually how you do it in the interface. If you guys press square to show more, you guys see we have the option to put on a center dot, and the center dot is just a static dot that never moves, okay? You know, crosshairs usually bounce around if you jump or whatever, but a center dot doesn't move at all. So if you guys are trying to improve your centering, I highly recommend you guys turn this on and go ahead and put it on, you know, whatever size you want. I put mine on default. If you guys want a bigger dot, you guys can. I think the smaller the better. As long as you can see it, you're good. You don't want to go too big because you don't want to take up too much of your screen. But if you guys are kind of, you know, hard at seeing certain things, then you guys might want to go with the large dot. I can't stress how useful this setting is. Now, the rest of these settings down here are personal preference. You guys don't really have to change this if you don't want to. And for telemetry, you guys can turn on server latency and packet loss if you guys want to be updated on how you guys are performing in the game when it comes to your Wi-Fi, packet loss, server latency, that sort of thing. So that right there is how you make the game look much better. Most of the brightness FidelityFX tips are going to be the most effective, and some of the color world filters will also make your saturation better, but I will be covering a video very soon on how you guys can change some of your monitor settings or TV settings to make it look even better. Really get that PC sort of feel. Now, many of you guys think that these videos are not actually on console. They actually are. I'm playing with an Elgato capture card, which allows me to capture the game at 1080p with 60 FPS. That's why it looks so clear. Most of you guys think that I'm actually using my PS4 or PS5 to record, and that's just not the case. Inside the Elgato, I can also change the saturation and brightness and stuff like that for myself as well as you guys, so I'm able to perceive the game with much more color from just the Elgato alone. So that's the same thing as you changing your monitor settings. That's why I recommend you guys change your monitor settings as well, which, like I said, I'll be covering in a video very soon. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's gameplay. This is my first game on the new Rebirth map. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, love, and understanding always.